there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're in Bamberg, Germany. And today we're going to talk about are some of those little annoyances that Americans find when they visit Europe. And let's be honest, most American tourists when they come here to Europe are like, oh my God, I'm in Europe. It's so wonderful. The food is fantastic. The people are so nice. The culture is everywhere. Everything's so small and quaint and cute and beautiful. And I actually feel safe walking around at night. I mean, there's things Americans love about it. And honestly, I have a video, things that Americans fawn over in Europe. But this time, I want to kind of have a fun time talking about the little annoyances that Americans have when they come here to Europe. And these things don't happen everywhere in Europe, but I just thought it'd be some of the fun things I've heard over the decades of us traveling here from other travelers and from ourselves and other people. And I want to think that here in Germany, since we're here in Germany to start off, I got to talk about one, and that is paying to go pee. Yes, paying to use a public toilet. If you're in Venice and you're trying to find a bathroom, oh yeah, you can go in, but it's a couple euros. Oh, you're at the train station here in Germany. Oh yeah, the bathrooms are super clean. Don't get me wrong. You pay for what you get. You pay for a toilet, it's going to be clean, but you got to have €1 or €2 to get in. I mean, or the ladies that look at you when you come into a toilet, they're like, money, please. I mean, I've been all over Europe, especially in public transportation hubs, and paying for the toilet is just a thing. And that's why I always tell my American friends, yes, always have change with you. Have those coins with you just in case, because you never know. Oh, do I have coins? Ah, yes, I have my toilet coins, because you never know when you got to go and when you might have to pay. But that is one of the things that comes up quite a bit when you're seeing that. Now, another thing you have to realize is Americans, we're very big shoppers. We love to spend our money. Hence why we don't have a lot of saved for retirement, and we spend all our money, and we have all this debt and credit card stuff. But that's a whole other thing. We're not going into the real reasons. We're talking about the little annoyances. And one is, what's with the no shopping on Sundays? Is this Chick-fil-A? Does Chick-fil-A own Europe? You'll notice when you travel around Europe, a lot of the places are closed on Sundays, or stores. Now, restaurants are open, and shops at the train station are open, transportation is going, they have to work, but normal stores tend to be closed on Sundays. Not everywhere, not in every country, but it's enough that I tell my travelers, my fellow travelers, hey, if you want to get your shopping done, you want to get your good souvenirs, do it Monday through Saturday, because Sunday, you might be out of luck, okay? And also another one that I always kind of find funny when my American friends travel around, like if they're going to Wales or something, they're like, wait, all the shops are closing at 6. What if I want to shop later? Yeah, they complain about not being able to shop late at night. Look, that's just not how it's done here. You don't have the late night shopping. There's not 24-hour shopping. And Americans are so used to, oh, it's 10 o'clock at night. I'll go hop over to Walmart to grab something. I'll hit up Target at 9:30, or, oh, it's 7 a.m. I'm going to go over to Meijer or something and go shopping, that they don't realize it's not like that here. So it kind of takes them back. So just know, my American friends, don't be annoyed by it. Just know that those people want to go home and enjoy dinner with their family too. And we all know you love the food here in Europe, right? Because it's fantastic. So don't you think they want to enjoy it as well? And if we kind of look at that, another thing I think, if we look at the restaurants, the food stuff that people get annoyed with. One, the lack of free refills. Yes, I'm sure there's Burger King in the UK that might give you free refills or stuff. But in general, free refills on soda is a thing in the US. That is just a thing that everyone expects. But when they travel, they're like, wait, I have to pay for every single soda I get? Yes, you do. You ever wonder why they're so skinny here? Because they have one Coke, not 10 refills, so they can kind of help out. And I guess talking about the Coke, another one that I actually heard some tourists complaining about. One, it was American tourists. I haven't seen a lot of American tourists here in Bamberg, but they're like, where's the ice in my drink? Yeah, the lack of ice overall does upset people, but I always like to think of it this way. This means you get more soda because you only get one. If you know you only get one soda, give me one ice cube. I don't want a whole glass of ice cube and a splash of soda. Don't worry, I talk about this in things that annoy Europeans about going to the US, so there is that. Also, in the restaurants, another thing that gets Americans is the lack of service, because in the US, it really is, they kind of like fall all over you and when you go to restaurants to help you, because they want to get a tip, right? They want to get a bigger tip if they're better with you, so it's much more of a, yes, sir, how can I help you, sir? Yes, ma'am, how can I help you, ma'am? Like, over the top, super friendly service. In the US, when Americans come to Europe, in Europe, the customer is not king. Okay, it's just a job that people are paying the bills so they can enjoy their own lives. And so that kind of different mentality when it comes to restaurants and servers, that's one of those things that Americans do point out they miss, that like friendliness to it, okay? And then don't even get me started trying to get the attention to the waiter someplace. Hello, can I get the bill? And I won't talk about tipping. That's a whole other thing out there that Americans really have a tough time with in different countries too. But another thing I think we need to look at in terms of like when you're at restaurants or anywhere, it's the paying thing. See, in the US, everyone's used to just paying with credit card everywhere you go, or maybe tap and go with your Apple Pay or whatever. And still in Europe, a lot of places are still cash is king. Now, not everywhere. You go to Scandinavia, there's places you can only pay like tap and go. In London, you can't use cash hardly anywhere in London anymore. But there's still places like here in Germany and Austria and other places like, yeah, they prefer cash, or they may only take the EC card and not a credit card. And like, oh, just take my money, please. Could you just take my money? I want you to take my money somehow. And that kind of frustration, not knowing the right thing to have, like anybody that has a Discover card or an American Express card, they know what you're talking about. We're like, no, we don't take that. It's just Visa and MasterCard here. But it's not just like restaurants and out and about. I think at the hotels, there's some little annoyances as well. You know, and if you're going to some places, especially in the summertime when it gets really packed, I know a lot of Americans really complain about the no air conditioning kind of thing. And don't worry, Europeans don't like melting as well, but it's just not usually been a thing. I mean, think about it. A lot of like the buildings behind me are like 500 years old. They weren't planning on a ventilation system and AC unit when they built it with stone 500 years ago. So putting those things in is kind of difficult. That's why you'll see those like window units or wall units when you're here in Europe. And so there is something there, but yeah, that's one thing Americans do complain about is where's the AC and why isn't it on all the time? That's not how they do it here, okay? Just just take your shirt off and try to cool down a bit. Stop moving around. You'll be okay. You could open the windows. They like that here, all right? So just try that out instead of the AC. And then in the hotel room, there actually is the issue of lack of plugs and kind of going into the same thing with no ventilation for the AC units. The same thing with plugs. They weren't planning for electricity to run through the buildings when they built these buildings 700 years ago, 500 years ago, 300 years ago. So that is one of those things. So always bring, if you're American coming here, always bring an adapter that has extra USB plugs in there. So you can plug in your computer and your two phones and all your stuff in one thing. So you can get more plugs than in one. Okay, but there's other things as well in the hotel room.
Now, another annoyance Americans have brought up is in the hotel bedroom, and that is the crack in the bed. Look, it's a perfectly good bed. Why is there a crack in the middle? Well, here's the thing. A lot of times when you get a double bed in Europe, it's just two single beds pushed together. And sometimes, like this bed, it has a frame, so it sticks in. But sometimes they're just pushed together and it literally separates like Moses and the Red Sea. And we've had our children slip through the crack. Heck, I was in Frankfurt once, and my dad, he actually fell through the crack in there as well. So that's one of those things that kind of annoys Americans a bit. Because they're like, what's with the crack? And maybe that explains why there's so few European children when the beds separate like that.
Of course, then there's the bathroom annoyances. And one of the things is the confusion that happens the first time an American sees this. And they're like, 2 buttons, what do I do? Well, remember, small button is number 1. So when you go number 1, you push that. It's a big one. Number 2, you push the big one. And if it's nested inside of itself, that blows our minds too. So, yeah, there is that. And another thing in the bathroom, European toilet paper. The rough grittiness of it, you just miss that nice dew-ply from back home. And then just one last little annoyance from the bathroom. This is a washcloth. A lot of Americans get upset because literally when you go around Europe, there are very few washcloths that are given to you when you go to hotels. So what you should do is just bring some with you. Then you're taken care of and you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, this is one thing, those little things people do mention to me quite often. Where are the washcloths? So we actually do is we actually bring a few of our own washcloths. So we actually have some because, yeah, you hardly ever see them. Now, a really annoying thing, and this is one that I think my UK and Irish friends will agree with me on, is the line culture in Europe really frustrates Americans. Because in America, it's all about we wait in our line, and we don't have to wait up like this on everybody. It's kind of like we'll have a line, but we'll give each other a little bit of space. Like you'll see it at the airport. You're like, people scoot up, people scoot up. They're like, yeah, we like our personal bubble here in America, you know, in the US. And when you come to Europe, it's not always that way. And in the lines, like here in Germany, I don't know how such an efficient and punctual culture can be so horrible with lines. Like, unless I'm like literally like right here on the person in front of me, someone's gonna like wander up in front of me and try to take my spot. I'm like, dude, bruh, what's going on? Yeah, the annoyance of the line culture here is one of those things. And please, my British and Irish, English, Welsh, Scottish friends, am I not wrong? When you come to the mainland, you're like, learn how to queue, people. Like, that is one thing that does upset people. So do know that you might need to be a little bit more closer when you're in line. All right. Now, another fun thing I think Americans, I don't think it really annoys them. It's just something they notice a lot is the tininess of things, like the tininess of the cars, the tininess of the beds, remember? But also the tininess of the people. And yes, we are quite girthy in the U.S. And that's one of the things like, hey, you rent a car, I'm going to get the full-size SUV just like back at home. And that full-size SUV you rent in Europe is actually the size of a small hybrid car in the U.S. It's a total different thing. And so Americans aren't really ready for that. So my American friends, just know the cars won't be any bigger, so you need to pack less, okay? So just have that in mind. Another thing I think that comes up, and this isn't just American tourists, I've actually heard this from a lot of Asian tourists and a lot of South Americans as well, and African tourists that have come here to Europe, is the kind of annoyance of the European superiority complex. They like, oh, we are European. We are better than everyone else. If we were still in charge, things would be better. Like, there is that kind of like aura. Look, a lot of people's ancestors came from Europe. They're cool too, you know? And sometimes that does annoy people. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's one of those things you might notice. And people that live here longer, they start to see it sometimes. I mean, I've lived in a number of countries in Europe over the years, and I've seen it kind of flare a couple times. I mean, don't get me wrong, Americans do the exact same thing, but I'm saying what annoys Americans. Believe me, that will come up in the things that annoy Europeans about going to the U.S., okay? So there's the U.S. side of it. But I think kind of a thing that kind of goes along with that one is when Europeans get really upset that Americans don't know European geography. You know, it's like when people are like, oh, is that close to London? And people are upset. No, it's a whole hour and a half from London. How do you dare think that Cambridge is London? Ugh. And they get really upset by it. Like, look online, you'll find people that get really upset about this. But what you have to realize for Americans, like, I live 4 hours drive away from Chicago, okay? I still say I'm from Chicago because it's easier. Because for us, going for, like, if I want to go see my mom for lunch, I'll go drive 3 hours to see her, have lunch, and then drive back. That's just how we roll. And that's still in the same state. Like, oh yeah, we're both in central Illinois. We're close. You know, I mean, honestly, I literally go out of my house, hop on the highway, it goes all over my parents' house, and I hop off. It's 3 hours, but it's just one road. That's one of those things that Americans are like, why are you so mad at us that we think everything's the same, like in terms of distance? Because for us, it's all so close. And Europeans get really upset with that. And it's kind of funny because some people will get upset that you don't know this small, like you don't know where Bamberg is in Germany. Oh, it's famous for the Bamberger Ritter and the Bamberger sausages and all these things. And it's honestly, it should be famous for as the prettiest town hall in Germany. It is gorgeous. But then you're like, well, do you know where Waco, Texas is? I mean, you might know where Texas is, but where's, if I gave you a map, where's West Virginia? How about North Carolina? You know, and it's one of those things that it works both ways. And so that's one of those things that Americans get upset when they're like, I just don't know, because we don't learn European geography, just like Europeans don't learn a lot about American geography. And I know that because it's been a number of times I've been told there's 52 states in the U.S. People, there's only 50 states in the U.S., okay? Now, another one that kind of comes up, and I get this one quite a bit during the summer travel season, people will mention the Eurofunk. Usually Friday afternoon on the subway or regional trains or the trains or the buses going home after the last day of the work week, the Eurofunk smell kicks in a bit and people are like, whoa, deodorant? Shower? Why is there so many stinky people? Now, it's not a lot. I'm not saying it's a lot, but it is one of those things that I have heard Eurofunk, and it has shown up in a number of our videos over the years, but it also shows up in a number of our comments and people writing us, asking us about that. So, like I said, it's just little annoyances. I mean, just breathe the other way. You'll be fine. I mean, you'll survive. It's just a little stinkiness sometimes. And that's one of those things. These are just little funny annoyances that Americans mention. It's like the little, in German they say it's nervig. It's just the little annoying things that people like to talk about. But honestly, none of these things are things that would ever stop anybody from coming here, because Europe is a fantastic place, whether you're going up into Finland to see Lapland and then where Santa's from, or you're going to the UK all the way up in the Shetland Islands, or you're going to Sagres in Portugal, or you're going down to Bosnia, you're going to hit the Greek islands, or you're here in Germany. There's so many fantastic reasons to come to Europe, and I just want to give some of the fun little annoyances that are out there. And so let me know, what are some of the little annoyances that you've heard Americans talk about, or maybe you're an American? What are some of the little annoyances you see when you travel to Europe? Let me know in the comments below, and don't worry, we have these videos for other cities, countries, and towns, and also in the US. So I hope you have a great time, and I'll say bye from here in Bamberg, Germany.